Melas is situated in north of Athens. It's a 2-hour drive on a fantastic motorway, and it's very easy to come to. So the Melas is situated next to, when they were building the highway here, they found an old Roman winery. So obviously we've done something good, or they have done something good. They actually discovered that the spot is very good for wine growing. The Romans did. No, it's an ancient, Achinos is an ancient village. It dates back onto the Byzantine times, and before that the Roman times, and before that the Greek times. Well, I used to live in London and Zurich before that, and wine was always something that I loved drinking. I was no expert in wine making, but I loved the whole story of winemaking and vine growing. So in principle, we had, I was in banking, and a friend of mine brought out a fantastic wine in 1999. So we tried this wine and we got it slightly tipsy. So I said, I'll make better wine than this in Greece. So I made a wager, and we almost won it a year ago with the 2011 Melas. We put it against Chateau Lafleur, Pomerol, and 2 more wines, and Melas came out first. So we managed to make almost better wines than the old 300-year-old chateaus in France. So because of the wager, when we did it, we actually copied the Chateau Lafleur. So we planted exactly the same varieties that they did, which is Cabernet Franc and Merlot. So we actually we planted half and half, so half Merlot and half Cabernet Franc. And that's the reason we have it. We didn't choose Greek varieties then. But later on, we found out that the market really wanted Greek varieties after many years. So my enologist, Mr. Panazopoulos, discovered this ancient piece of land in Nemea with St. George varietals. But they were front de pied, they were ungrafted vines dating back about 120 years old. And the reason they were never replanted was because it was in an archaeological area. So they could not bring bulldozers in to remove the plants. So we managed to buy this, and we did the Palliez Rhesus, the old roots, which is one of our biggest sellers. It's one of the best St. George Agorgitico on the market, on the Greek market. We are very meticulous at Melas to do the best work or job that with the vines with the grapes that we are given. So every year we try our best to not to spoil them, and to bring them to fruition, and to make the best wine possible. Of course, we have lately some climate changes. The weather has been changing. We have some problems with overheating, high alcohol. But we've managed every year to make very good wine, very high quality wine. Most of it is rated over 90 points. So of course, the conditions are not the same every year, but we try the best to make a very good wine every year. Well, the philosophy of our winemaking is that we are, first of all, we're portrayers of the land that we've given, and we want to make sure we don't damage it by way of chemicals. So we've adopted a complete disassociation from chemicals. So we don't use chemicals at all. We try to be carbon neutral. We've installed photovoltaic panels so we're energy efficient. So we are carbon neutral as much as it gets. That's one thing we try to do to try and preserve nature as much as possible. We have bees everywhere. So, and we've introduced little ponds around the vineyard, so that all the little animals can have drink in the summer when it's dry everywhere else. So yeah, and we use barrels. We don't use anything else but barrels for the oak. One should live a good life without harming other people. You need to be good to yourself and to other people and to nature. At La Tour Melas, the 10 hectares, every part is different. Like you can move 10 meters to one direction and you have different soils, but completely different. And this brings out the multifaceted wine that we produce here. One thing we try and do at La Tour Melas is a micro-parcellization, which means we go and pick only the grapes that are ready. And because we do the fermentation in open-top barrels, that gives us the ability to be able to pick only the grapes that are ready to be picked. So we can, because they're 225 liters, we go and pick only the grapes that are ready. So we can have and this matures in the same barrel and matures later after fermentation in the same barrel, which gives us the ability to keep the terroir as it came from the terroir. So even though it's a small vineyard, it's still a very multifaceted, very different terroirs on one soil. And we try and preserve this from the beginning to the end of its growth. I like swimming. I like traveling. There's a very good kite surfing school just opposite here, which is one of the best in Europe, and I'm thinking to take that on. To make good wine, you have to make people's life easy, and you have to be logical. You should make it that they don't suffer by making them overwork. It's a hard job anyway. So we use gravity here to help us with winemaking, and that's made a big difference in everything. Cleanliness is another thing. We are very, very meticulous about how wine is kept clean, and the conditions that are, as you saw before, we have in the cellar, we keep it very damp, around 80% humidity. And all these little things make a huge difference in the end. Little bits, like when you pick the grapes, they need to be stored in a cool place straight away. If you keep them out in the sun, you lesser the quality immediately. Because we're on the side of a mountain, we use this to our advantage, that we have different levels in the winery. And instead to rack the barrels, we don't use pump overs. We use gravity to filter the wine, for example, or to rack it. Things like that make a difference in the quality of wine in the end. We are small, so we are capable of keeping quite with paces of change. So we're not a huge winery. We are almost a boutique winery. Our rosé is quite big. We are the biggest producers of rosé wine in Greece. There we had to adapt to become big, and it's tough on the side of a mountain to bring all the material and the logistics. But we've managed to become very large in the rosé. We adapted in the demand of the rosé wine in Greece. Unfortunately, we sold out every year too early, but we're going to try and fix this. But yeah, eye to the detail. Like you need to always make sure that there are no mistakes in winemaking, like easy stuff, logical things. Our attitude is to bring up the level of winemaking in Greece. Like we want to up the ante to make it make as good wine as possible in Greece. When we first started 20 years ago, wine in Greece was sold anyway, so people didn't appreciate quality. So So we introduced that a bit in Greece, that we want a different label, a better bottle, a better cork, bring the standard up. And I think we have helped the Greek wine industry as being leaders in trying to increase the standards of winemaking and wine selling.